Hello everybody. So this is a video that I've wanted to make for a while, and the only reason I've been hesitating is because I didn't want to open up my channel to any kind of negativity or judgment. But I think that I'll be opening it up to positivity, hopefully. So I identify as a non-binary man, and technically I am transgender because I identify as a different gender than what I was raised as and given at birth. I don't necessarily like the word transgender very much, only because I don't believe I've ever really changed genders. I believe I was born the gender that I am right now. It just took me a while to really fully align with that and express it. And I'm also trying not to use any language that would trigger myself. So excuse me if I'm being vague, but I'm pretty sure you can get where I'm coming from, but I also don't want people to assume things about me or my body, because that makes me uncomfortable. So that's just a part of who I am, and I think that it's funny because I am a Pisces Rising, and I also have Saturn in Pisces at 0 degrees in my first house, and I have Lilith in Pisces in my first house, and all of that has to do with my struggle to understand my identity. And I personally believe that perhaps having Lilith in Pisces in the first house contributes to this experience. I also believe that my Saturn in Pisces in the first house contributes to this experience in terms of there aren't very strict rules or boundaries when it comes to my self-expression. I'm able to kind of bend them and be very intuitive about it. It's not that they don't exist, and when they do exist, it is painful for me. However, my identity is quite malleable, and it is within my power to alter. So I am medically transitioning. I'm doing hormone replacement therapy. I have been for, I think maybe 2 years at this point. There was quite a while where I wasn't doing it correctly. I don't know what you guys know or not about stuff like this, but when you get testosterone, it can either be in a gel that you apply to your body or in shots. And I started off actually with this spiritual supplement that wasn't doing anything for me. Just because I think I was a bit afraid to completely alter my biochemistry. And then I switched to the gel for a year and a half, and I thought that I just wasn't, I wasn't responding as well as other people, but it turns out it wasn't really affecting me at all when I got my blood tests done. So then I started switching to shots. So I've been transitioning medically for I think around 3 or 4 years, but as far as actually working with the testosterone, it's been about 2. I put minoxidil on my face to help me get a bit of facial hair because that makes me feel better about myself. I got top surgery on my chest about 3 years ago now, and that was a pretty intense spiritual experience for me. It's kind of like a walk-in. If you guys know what that is, when like your soul kind of walks into your current body and it takes over. It's not like your previous personalities necessarily override it, though sometimes it can be. But I remember waking up and finally feeling like I had been born. I mean, I was under anesthesia for like 7 hours, and when I came to, I kept seeing ravens everywhere, which is a really important animal for me. And I just honestly felt really reborn. And again, I think a lot of this has to do with my first house experiences. So I have also, I think astrology for me came because I wanted to understand myself better. And, trans or not, I've always kind of been struggling to really know who I am and what I identify as. And once I knew what sun signs were, but once I found out what charts were, I dove really deep into studying this kind of a thing. And I aim to help other people understand who they are through metaphors and the stars and all of that, because I've really gained a lot of clarity. Not that I don't know if Pisces risings can ever really truly understand who they are, because it's always changing. But I identify as an energy channeler, and I identify as a spiritual being before anything. And then I identify as an earth consciousness. I reluctantly identify as a human being. And at that point, I understand myself to be very non-binary, in the sense that I don't believe that gender expression is polar. Throughout nature, there are many anomalies and diversity within this experience, and there's many fish and lizards and snakes that can change gender. There's many mammals that switch roles, and where the men, carry eggs and etc. So there's a lot going on, and I believe it to be much more broad than we have come to realize. But I also identify as a male. When I'm given the option to, it makes me much more comfortable. But I don't really identify as a binary male, because I don't believe that I have been socialized in the same way. I don't think that I have the same experiences. And I don't really resonate with a lot of binary men for the most part, though obviously I do. It's something that I'm still learning about, and it's kind of like a language. It's like studying a new language, right? And I'm at like a 3rd grade level, and I can read books and I can write about stuff, but the people around me might be kind of like in high school or college, and it's hard for me to maintain these really subtle, subversive conversations that I just kind of missed out on growing up. But, it is what it is. So I identify as male, just also non-binary. I don't hear a lot of people really identifying as both at the same time, but I think, you can do whatever you want with labels, obviously. And that's just kind of where I fall into things. And like I said, I hesitated to really disclose this because I didn't want anybody to be turned off from my channel. But I believe at this point that people that are following me and supporting me should know this about me. And hopefully I can actually make more videos about this and educational stuff. I was really inspired to get on YouTube in the first place because of the trans community that exists here. And I would watch hours and hours and hours. And there's a guy named Skylark11 who I don't really follow too much anymore, but his videos, once I saw them, I realized who I was. There's somebody named Chase Ross and Aaron and Sweeney, and I honestly really love them and the work that they're doing. I love Ty Turner. I don't follow, too many people as I used to, but there's some really good YouTubers out there that are really supportive, and I wouldn't really be here without that. So I kind of wanted to pay tribute to that. And unfortunately, I tried documenting my transition so many times throughout when it was happening, but I never felt like I was fully myself, and I didn't want anyone else to see that. I honestly do not have any pictures of me that are older than a year or so old, and I've destroyed any of the rest. I don't have any footage, and part of me regrets this and part of me doesn't, and it kind of is what it is. So I'm not really going to be putting like year on T videos or anything on here. But if I can help people understand themselves and give a little bit of support, or just kind of talk about my experiences, that's something that I'm willing to put on this channel also. I'm opening it up more and more as I realize who I am as a creator and everything like that. I do love this aspect of myself, though sometimes it's a bit more of a challenge than I would like, and it's difficult. Though I have a really, really supportive girlfriend who really just makes me feel comfortable in my skin. She identifies as a straight woman, and I suppose that I identify as queer or bi, or what is that word? Pansexual, I suppose. It doesn't really matter to me. I like all different kinds of people. But I think that I'm pretty hetero-romantic, at least from my history, though I am open-minded. But I'm in a monogamous relationship right now, so I don't really have the chance to explore much further into those kind of realms. I don't know if there's really any more to say about this as just an opener. My name is Ocean, and I chose that name. I feel like it really embodies who I am as a person. The ocean is something that at the core, it's very still, but on the surface, there's a lot of waves. So it's this contrast of infinite consistency and infinite change. And I not only see that for my soul and how it's expressing itself, but the universe and the reality. And, those two are kind of the same thing at the end of the day. I'm also really emotional. And before I really knew too much more, I knew that I was a Cancer. And I've always really loved the beach. I have a lot of water placements. I have a planet in each of the water signs. So it's kind of a balance for that. I've always been really emotional, very sensitive, psychic, intuitive. So it just seemed like a good name for me, though. I'll admit that I'm very seasick and I can't do boats. And I've recently got dragged into the riptide a few times, and was really terrified by the power and immensity. And I didn't know if I had the name right, but I'm doing my best. So if any of my followers out there are part of the LGBT community, I'm sending you a bunch of love and support. I would love to talk about it through an astrological lens. Mostly I've only experienced my first house having to do much with this, but also my Saturn. I'm sure that it's different for anyone, and it might really not be that big of a deal, but I think that it's interesting. So I'm glad that I'm comfortable enough to share that. I almost have like 400 subscribers, which is super wild. I only started really doing this in October. So that's really cool. And yeah, I mean, if any of you guys want to support me and the work that I do, I'll always provide my website down there in the description. There's a crow right there. It just flew by. That's wild. Oh man. Yeah, I love you guys, and I just want to be open and honest, and if there's any negativity, I'm just going to delete it, and it's not going to affect me very much, so you're wasting your time. I've only ever gotten love on this channel, and I hope that that continues. I want this to be a safe space. I know that this is a sensitive topic, so is veganism. I'm going to figure out how I want to address that in the future. Just try to be open-minded, I guess, and if you really want to comment something, just think about it a couple times before you say it and kind of see how it reflects on you. But I love love, if that's what you guys got. Man, yeah, I'm rambling. I have other topics that I want to talk about with this, but not in this video. I just want to be more open about this online because there's no point in hiding it. Not exactly stealth, I just don't like disclose it immediately because I don't think that it's necessary. And when it comes to people in my life, I need time to trust them before I open it up. And I suppose I'm having the same situation with my audience and my creative expression. So there you have it, folks. I'm a little squiggle. So much love. Peace.